This video is going to cover creating notifications. So whenever a user comments on a post, say for example, this post has a couple comments, you will then receive a notification if you are the creator of the post. So if I come down to post number 9, you can see that John Doe posted on it or commented on it. And if I click on the comment notification, I have the new comments up here and I have the old comments down here. I'm limiting these to, I think 9 of each. But if I click on one of these, let's say I click on the title 6 comment, it takes me to this post. And as soon as we reach this post, you'll see that the comment counter changes because it now considers every comment on this post as seen, or it says they're read. So now all of my notifications are gone and I've cleared it. So you can see here it persists as a 0. We're going to be doing this using Chris Oliver from GoRails. He made a notice gem. So we're going to be using the notice gem for this. Now I'm going to come over to the current version of the application and just refresh to make sure it looks like everything is good. And then I'm going to zoom out a bit just so I get the login, log out buttons. I'm going to stop this server and I'm going to come over to the noticed gem GitHub repo, which I'll have linked in the video description. So with this gem, the first thing we need to do is add the gem to our gem file, which we can do by running bundle add noticed. And let me actually bump up the font size here. Once we've done that, we then want to generate the noticed model, which we can do by running Rails generate noticed :model. If I full screen this, we'll go ahead and we'll run that command. You can see here it gives us the next steps. It wants us to run the Rails DB migrate command to migrate our database. It then tells us that we should add has many notifications as recipient to the user model. So let's go do that. Come over here, open up our folder, and we'll come up to app models user.rb. And then in the user.rb, we'll add has many notifications as recipient, and then we'll add dependent destroy. The next thing we should do, if I bump up the font size, is run Rails G noticed notification, and it'll give us some options here. So here it's telling us that we should specify the name of the notification that we want to create. So what I'll do is I'll say Rails G noticed notification, and then I'll call it the comment notification. Next, I want to run the Rails G noticed notification command, and I want to say this is going to be a comment notification. You can see it then creates a app notifications folder and adds in the comment_notification.rb file. The next thing we want to do is we want to come over to our post, and I'm going to bump up the font size one step. And in here, we're going to add 2 things. The first is going to be has_noticed_notifications, and the model_name will be notification. The next thing we want to do is we want to say this has many notifications, and we want to say this is through the user with a dependent destroy. So what we're saying here is a post has many notifications. It does it through the user model, and it is dependent destroy, just like our comments. So when we delete the post or when we delete the user, we're also going to delete the notification. That way we don't have these weird notifications floating around. The last thing we need is we need the comment to have some stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say after create commit. So after a comment is committed to the database, it's been created, it's ready to be displayed. We then want to call a method that we're going to create, and we're going to call it notify recipient. We're also going to do a before destroy, and we're going to call this cleanup notifications, and we'll create these methods in a second. And the last thing we want to do is we just want to say has noticed notifications for the model name of notification. I don't know if this is necessary, but this is sort of how I set it up in my project. We're then going to create a small section that's going to be some private methods, and we're going to create a private method for each of these. The first one will be the recipient here. So I'll say notify recipient. then I'm going to say end. I'm trying to avoid GitHub Copilot. And the other thing will be the cleanup notifications. So for the notify recipient, we're going to leave this blank for a second. And for the cleanup notifications, for this one, all we're going to say is notifications underscore as underscore comment dot destroy underscore all. What we're doing with this notifications as comment method here is if you look at the documentation on the GitHub page, calling something by the notification underscore as underscore whatever is looking up the notifications where the parameters are equal to whatever the last word is. So this is basically the same thing as me opening up the Rails console and doing something like notification dot where the comment underscore ID is equal to like comment dot ID, where we're checking the comment here that we've just said needs to be destroyed. So when we destroy this comment, it's going to call this cleanup method. And this cleanup method is going to check through the notifications and it's going to destroy any notifications associated with this comment. Now, you would expect there to only be one notification for the comment because you leave a comment on one post, which belongs to a user. But just in case, we call destroy all, because if you leave that notification floating around without the comment, then you'll run into issues where your logic might try to like manipulate that notification, but its parent doesn't exist anymore and you'll throw some errors. So that handles our cleanup. Now for the actual notify recipient, the way this works is you create the comment and then in here, I don't remember exactly where it covers it, but the basic idea is we have this, where is it? This comment notification.rb. We want to use this class to create a notification. So I leave a new comment. I then want to say comment notification, and I want to say dot with, and then we want to pass in whatever this notification needs. So the first thing we know it needs is the comment itself, because in the demo, I think, if I click on this, I don't actually link to it, but if you wanted to, in the middle here, let's say you wanted to say John Doe said X, Y, or Z from the comment, like maybe you wanted 10 words from the body of the comment to appear here, you might be able to put that in the middle. In that case, you would need the comment itself. The other thing that we want is the post, which is just the post. And that's just because we're actually linking to the post here and we're adding the title of the post in the link. Now, there may be other ways to do this. This is just sort of how I figured out how to make this work. And then we're going to say .deliver underscore later. So it's just going to run a background job. So you'll hit post for your comment. It'll fire off this job, but it won't block the user interface from proceeding until it's done. You'll just post your comment and move along as the user who commented. And then the Rails system in the background will handle the delivery. And then we want to deliver this to the post.user. And this is important because if you don't have the post in front of it, if you just said deliver to user, it would deliver to the user of this comment, which doesn't really make sense because if I'm commenting on John's post and I say deliver later to the user of this comment, well, I'm the user. So I'm leaving a comment on John's post and then I'm getting a notification. So we don't want that. It's John's post. So we want to deliver this notification to John, who belongs to this post, or I guess who owns this post. So that's why we're doing it like that. So if you end up getting your own notifications, you might want to check this small snippet of code right here just to make sure that you have it properly being delivered. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and let's try to start our server. So I'll say Rails S. And then I'll refresh the page and our notifications are gone. And this is actually 3001. So let me Rails S this and let me come over to 3000. There we go. So let's go ahead and let's log in. I'll say dean@example.com with a password of password. Let me come over to the blog and then let me come over to show this post. This is a post by me. Is there a post by anyone else? Doesn't look like it. I'm gonna come over to localhost port 3000 incognito. I'm gonna sign in as john@doe.com with a password of password. I'm gonna come over to the blog. I'm gonna come over. Sorry about that. It looks like there's some coyotes outside. Absolutely terrifying. So now what I've done is I've logged into my second account here. So I'm looking at my own post as John. So if I leave a comment on my own post, so I'll say, "Hi, Dean, it's John here," and I hit reply, you won't actually see any of these notifications get created. And the reason for that is if we come over here to the comment notification, we actually have to choose what our delivery method is. Now, the notice gem, I mean, Chris did a fantastic job here. It has all sorts of different delivery methods, including stuff like if you wanted to deliver by Discord, for example. For the sake of this one, we're just going to be delivering by the database. So we'll just say deliver by database, and then we can save this. And now I believe if we try to create a comment, I don't know if we have to restart the server or not, but let's go ahead and let's try this. I'll just say test, reply, and then we'll come up here and we'll see if that changed anything. So I see here it inserted the comment, inserted the action text, and then it inserted into notifications all the recipient information. So now I think if I restart this, or if I stop the server and I type Rails C, and I'll full screen this, if we now do notifications.first maybe, or notification.all, let's just try that. We now see what a notification looks like. So a notification contains an ID, a recipient type, in this case user, a recipient ID, a type, which is the comment notification that we created. And these params are just a JSON column. So it's going to be the comment, which is it has the ID of the comment, the post it belongs to, its user ID, and when it was created. And then it also has the post, which is the ID, the title, the body, how many views it has, and the user it belongs to. And then it has a read at, which is currently nil because it hasn't been read yet. Now, one thing to note is depending on the logic you use, because this is all JSON, you'll be running some queries. And when you try to run queries, there's two different types. You'll either have a JSON column or you'll have a JSON B column. I think in the case of Postgres, you'll be using a JSON B column. So if you're using Postgres while you're following along with this, or in the future, you just want to change this to a JSON B column. Now you can either generate a new migration for this, or you could like drop your database. For now, I'm just going to leave this as a JSON column, and we'll just see if we run into any issues. But if you're running into issues with Postgres and you're trying to run some specific query types, this might be why. And in that case, you just run a change migration. But for now, I'm going to leave this, and we're just going to see how far we can get with this. So we have our delivery method right here as the database. If I open up the notification, on my other screen, I can take a look at this. I would like to do the URL, and this is going to be used for our link. So in our Navbar at the top, I guess I closed it, but if I log in, dean@example.com with a password of password, it looks like that's not working. dean@example.com. Would help if I typed it correctly. So when you hover over this, you have a link. And the way that we build this link, if I can move myself again, is you have a post path, and then we need to do a post.find. And we want to find the post by the params, which are going to be comment. And then inside of the comment, we want to grab the post ID. Because remember, when we looked at this, a notification has a params column, which is what we're using here. And then we're just digging into the comment here. So that's why we're doing the :comment. And then we're grabbing the post ID, which is why we have the post ID right here. So that's sort of how we're just drilling into the parameters there. So that allows us to do our URL. Now the other part of this is we have the actual message. So let's try to create that. Let's uncomment this def message, and let's get rid of this part right here. First thing I want to do is I just want to create the post. So I'm going to say @post equals post.find, params, comment, and then post ID, just like we did down here. So that gives us our post. Then we can grab our comment. GitHub Copilot is leading the way here. For that, we want to dig into the comment params, and we want to just grab the ID, which is what we did here, comment params and the ID. Then I want to do the user, which is going to be user.find. And for this, we can just do the @comment.userid, I believe. And then we can say, oh, I guess here it wants to say new comment on your post at post.title. I don't like that. Let's instead do something like this, which allows us to put some Ruby code inside of our string. And I just want to say @user.email, commented on, and then I think we did @post.title. You don't see it here, but what I actually do is I say .truncate, and I truncate it at 10. And I think that's characters. You can also do like truncate words, I think, if you wanted to count the number of words. But I think this way, it'll just chop off the last, or it'll chop off after 10 characters. So I'm going to leave it like that. And these are just helpers that we'll be able to use inside of our view in a second here. So in order to actually use these helpers, we're going to want to create whatever's going on in this navbar. So let me go check if we actually set that up in the previous episode. So I'm going to come into views, layouts, and the application.html.erb. It looks like we still need to add our Bootstrap icon. So I'm going to come over to Google, search for Bootstrap 5 icons right here. I'm going to click on, I think, learn more about Bootstrap. And then I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to just grab, where is it, the CDN for this. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste this in right below the JavaScript, and I guess I'll move it up. So it's currently going regular Bootstrap CSS, the icons, and then the JavaScript. So I'll go ahead and I'll save that. And that's just going to let us use these fancy little icons that I have right here. So to do that, let's come over to our actual application. What we have is we have our navbar. That's fine. So let's open up our navbar. And what I want to do is right above this session manager, which is the thing that displays this dropdown, I want to render another partial. So I'll say render. And I think I called this notifications. Yeah, I called this, I said layout/notifications. And that's pretty much all I did in this navbar. Now we need to actually create this. Otherwise, if I exit out of the console with Rails D and then run a Rails S command, then refresh the page, we'll get an error because it says missing partial. So let's go ahead and let's create that in our layouts folder. We'll say new file _notifications.html.erb. And then inside of this notifications, there's actually quite a bit of logic that I threw together. The first one we're going to do is we're going to check if we are currently signed in. So we're going to say if current user and then end. So this is only going to work if you're currently signed in, because it doesn't make sense for you to have notifications if you're not signed in. Now, the next part of this, I'm going to start copy pasting some of this because it's just CSS, is going to be a drop down similar to the one that we have in our session manager. In this drop down, we have a anchor tag. So we have an A tag here, and I'm going to full screen this because this is going to be a little bit long. So this is going to be an A with a class equal to nav-link and drop-down dash. So this is going to be an anchor tag with a class of nav-link and a drop-down toggle. It's going to have the href ID of navbar dropdown and the rest of this stuff as well. This is going to be available in the source code in the video description if you don't feel like writing all this down yourself. But inside of this A tag, which we're actually going to close just so I don't forget because I sort of do that a lot, there is a section on the Bootstrap website. Let's come over to there. I'm going to say Bootstrap 5, and I'm going to click on the intro to Bootstrap. If I full screen this, I think they are called badges. Yeah, badges. So it looks like it's under components and badge. This just lets you, you can see here, it lets you attach these notification counter pill looking things to a, like in this case, it's the button. So I'm sort of stealing this CSS and I'm modifying it a little bit. So in here, what I have, if I full screen this, is I grabbed a span with a class of badge, with a badge, rounded dash pill, and BG dash danger. And that's just what gives us that red rounded icon that was circling the heart. And then after that, what I did was I said, if we have any unreads, so we'll say at unread.count, and we actually need to create this unread. So what we want to do is we want to say if the unread count is greater than or equal to 9, so if we have 9 or more notifications, if we have 9 or more, just say 9 plus, else we don't have 9 or more, so we just want to say put the at unread.count there. And we'll create that unread.count in a second. And then after that, I did a space, and then I did an I for an icon with a class equal to bi-suit-heart-fill. And then we just close the icon. So let's go create this at unread real quick, because we're also going to have a at read. These are sort of what I use to keep track of how many read and unread notifications there are, as well as just select them so that we can use them. So in our app controller's application controller, we're going to create a before action. This is going to be called set notifications. And we want to do this if we are a current underscore user. So we'll say private, and then we'll say def set notifications end. And what we want to do is we want the unread at unread to be equal to notification.where the recipient is the current user. We want to say dot newest underscore first dot limit of 9 dot unread. So what we're doing is we're checking the notifications where our user was the recipient. So the system sent the user a notification. And of those, we want to grab the newest first. So this is the same thing as doing something like dot where blah, 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 dot order. And then you say created underscore at DESC. That's sort of what we're doing here with the newest first. And then we want to limit by 9. Which just means we're selecting the at most 9 of those notifications, and then we're making sure that we're only grabbing the unread of those. Now, what you could do is you could grab this part right here. You could just say like notifications equals this, and then you could say notifications dot unread, and at read equals notifications.read. So this one's going to give you the unread notifications. This one's going to give you the read notifications. So if we save that, and this is slightly different than how I set it up last time, so hopefully this works. And then we come back to our notifications. You can now see that our at unread.count is just checking to make sure like how many unread notifications we have. So either way, we want to do the heart icon. But this is just changing it so that if there's more than 9, it changes to 9 plus. That way you don't have like 1042 notifications showing up. But now that we have that, we can come down below the A tag, I believe, and we want to create a bootstrap UL. So I'm going to say /UL. And this is going to be our drop-down menu. So this is just some more bootstrap styling. Now here, it's already suggesting something that I'm not quite a fan of, so I'm going to hit escape. What we do is we say at unread.each do notification. And then we can come down here and we can end this. So for each of these notifications, I want, sure, I'll take that, but I'll get rid of this. So for each of these notifications, I want a drop-down item. And then in here, I want to say, let's link to the notification. And this is where it gets a little bit strange, but you have to take this notification and call to underscore notification. I'm not entirely sure why, but this allows us to call the .message method of this notification here. So by taking this unread notification from our user and calling to notification, it allows us to call the message method, which we created in comment notification, which is this right here. And this last part right here where it does this string is actually, it's implied that it's returning the string. So by, even if I were to save this, I'm pretty sure that my code formatter would, yeah, it just gets rid of the return. So when we call .message, it's going to do all of this and it's going to return this string. So in our notification here, the link to text, because remember our link to is a link to the words of the link and then the destination of the link, right? So these are the words of the link. And then we want this to go to the notification dot to notification dot. And if we come back to our comment notification, we call this URL. So we'll come back here and we'll say .url. And that's how we're creating that link. Now, this right here gives us our unread messages. We also have the ability to, let's say, create a check here where we do if at read.count is greater than 0 and at unread.count is greater than 0. And what we want for this is just an li. And then inside of this li, yep, a drop down divider, exactly. So this is just the Bootstrap class that gives you a divider in your drop down. So like in the user account here, we have this little horizontal line. That's what this HR is. So if we have any new notifications and we have old notifications, we just want to have a horizontal line between them. In this case, I don't, so we don't see any there. The next thing we can do is we can say if we have any unread or read notifications, or if we have both, we do the drop-down divider. Else if at read.count plus at unread.count is equal to 0. In this case, we have no notifications at all. And then we can just say drop down item. And we can say, no, we don't want that. We just want to have the text that says no notifications yet. So this is just a quick check in case maybe the account's new and it hasn't had any interactions yet. This is just a way to cleanly say there's nothing here. And by just adding this into this if else right here, it's a bit cleaner than having multiple ifs all over the place. But the last thing we want to do now is we have the read notification here. Let's copy this. We'll come down here, we'll paste it, and we'll say this is now the read. Sorry, we have the unread up here. We can now say, let's do the read down here. And actually the rest of this is the same. So what you could do is you could take this part right here and just put it in a partial. So you could like put this into a partial and then just render the partial for each one. Let's actually go ahead and try that. Say new file underscore notification singular.html.erb. And I'll save this. We'll actually get rid of the loop here. It should just be this. So this means we have to pass in the notification. So let's come back. And instead of doing this, let us render the layouts / notification singular, and then we'll pass in the notification. So that lets us do that. Let's copy this, and then let's come down here and let's paste it. So let's get rid of this drop down as well. We don't need that. So with all of that in place, we should now be good to give this a test. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to refresh. Doesn't look broken. We have the icon. It says no new notifications, which is correct. Let's come over to our main account and log in. So I'll say dean@example.com with a password of password. And you can see here, I actually have that notification from earlier. So John commented on post title 9, which is post title 9 right here. This is my comment. Let me click on this So I've clicked on it, but our counter hasn't changed. Oh, I see what I've done wrong here. What I'd like to do is come up to the post controller, and in our show, we actually need to do mark notifications as read. And this is going to be a helper method that we create at the bottom. We come down here to the private. We'll say def mark notifications as read. And then we can say if we are the current user, then we want to do notifications _2 _mark as read is going to be, and I'm going to just get rid of this. It's going to be equal to the @post.notifications _as_post where the recipient is the current user. And then I want to say notifications to mark as read .update all, and then the red at time is going to be the time.zone.now. And then if I save that and we come over here and I refresh, you'll see the counter changes to 0. So let me now come over to the John account. I'll come over to the blog, and I'm just going to comment on a few of these. So I'm going to say test on post 8. I'm going to come down to post 7, and I'll say case. And then I guess I'll come down to post 3, and I'll say hello. And now if I come to the home page, we should see 3 new comments as well as the 1 old comment, and I'll read the comment on, I don't know, post 7. So now 7 and 9 are on the bottom, 3 and 8 are on the top, and that seems to be working. The only other thing is in the previous episode, just real quick, I'm just realizing that I forgot to cover this. We had this edit functionality that we built out, and in the current version of the application, for some reason, I seem to already have the functionality. But what I'd like to do is change it so that the edit button actually says cancel. So let me come over here and show you how I did that, because apparently this already has it. So if we come into the, the show page. So we'll say posts and the show.html.erb. Nope, it's the, it's probably the comment partial. Yeah, in the comment partial, we have all of this. What we want to do is at the bottom here, I added in a comments edit param, which has the edit button and the comment ID. And then I have the ID right here. So I say comma after the brace, and then the ID is set to be edit-button-comment ID. So similar to what we did with the rest of this. And then if we come into the JavaScript folder and controllers and the comments controller, we have the edit button ID being grabbed by the event.params edit. That grabs the edit button right here with the document.element by ID. And then it calls this .toggle edit button, which is just a helper method where it checks if the edit button's text is set to edit. And if it is, it changes the text to cancel. And if it's not, it changes the text to edit. So all this is doing is it's switching between the word edit and the word cancel. The other thing it does is it calls this other helper method to change the class. And all that does is it just calls the class list.toggle, and it changes the button secondary and the button warning. So the button warning is the orange color right here, and the button secondary is the gray color, and those are just Bootstrap classes. So it just switches between each one. And because it starts with the warning as the class, that causes this to turn it off, and it causes this to turn on the secondary. And that's sort of how I did the edit button to click cancel. That's going to do it for me. If you found this video helpful, there's plenty more on the way. These come out every Wednesday. And if you're interested in creating a real-time chat room application, I have an entire playlist that I've been building out that's on the screen right now.